Hey guys, welcome in or welcome back to our channel. Today we're starting our series for beginner and novice woodworkers. We've got three really great projects that we're building today that you can make with three simple shop tools. Hope you guys stick around to the very end of this video. I've got a little bit of information you might be interested in hearing regarding some giveaways we've got planned for our channel. So as far as today's video, let's get to it. So project one, we're going to build this set of wall sconces. They're made out of wood from a pallet. They're put together with some glue and a few brad nails. These are extremely simple to make, extremely rustic, and these are going to look great in any decor. So let's get started on project one. We're going to make those candle sconces that we just saw. This is getting made out of a very rustic piece of lumber. This is actually from a pallet. For those of you new to woodworking, which most of you watching this video are, this is a great way to get some free stock for your shop. Pallet wood is not always in the best of shape, but if you're making some rustic projects, especially some outdoor projects, pallet wood is a great way to start. In my area, I have a couple places I go to regularly that have pallets sitting outside. They have zero problem with me taking a few of them off of their hands. Just make sure you always ask first before starting to pull, because a lot of places do count them as inventory and they have to return them back after they unload their merchandise. So the first thing we're going to do is just take some simple measurements. These sconces are 14 inches tall. They have a ledge for the candle that is 4 inches, and then there's a small piece underneath just to give it a little extra support. So we're going to start by taking our measurements. We're going to measure 14 inches and 28 inches. We need two pieces at 4 inches each, so that's 32 and 36. The piece that is left over right here, we will cut at an angle and make our brackets to fit underneath. I'll show you that step when we get to it. If you do not have a miter saw, you can absolutely use a hand saw and a miter box. Extremely cheap at the big box stores. They look like this. They're made out of plastic. It's not going to give you precision cuts for furniture making, but as a beginner, if this is how you wish to start, this is a very economical way to get yourself some cuts. Most of these boxes will do 45s and 90s, help you out with most of what we're going to do on this beginner channel. So we're going to head over to the saw. We're going to make these cuts, and then we're going to get back over to the table and get this thing assembled. So let's get this thing put together. Super simple build. Before we do that, let's talk about two quick things. Let's talk about getting this assembled with the proper glue and the proper fasteners. If you're new to woodworking, you might be under the impression that wood glue is wood glue, and that's not at all the case. So Titebond makes 1, 2, and 3, as well as some others, but I'll put a chart right here for you guys if you want to stop the video and look at this. Titebond 1 is what you're going to use on your interior projects. It is absolutely not water resistant nor waterproof. Titebond 2 is water resistant. It's going to handle a little bit of humidity and moisture better than 1. Titebond 3 is completely waterproof. It is designed for exterior. They also have tinted and dyed glues for different applications, but 1, 2, and 3 are your most common. I only use 2 and 3 in my shop. I don't build too much interior furniture, but when I do, I still can use Titebond 2. Also, you'll see on that chart that dry time and the time you have to actually work your material in place and setup times are going to vary between the three. So just make sure you're using the right glue for the right application. Also, let's talk about fasteners. For this particular project, we're using brad nails. Now, if you don't own a nail gun, don't worry. You can use hammer and nails. It's not a problem. Make sure that you use the proper length fastener for your project. For example, when we are attaching the ledge to the back of this piece. Length is not as important as it will be when we are attaching our bracket to this. As you can see, we have a total thickness here of about 1 1/4 inch between these two pieces of wood. You can't use a brad or a nail longer than that, or you're going to get it to pop through and it's not going to look right. So let's make sure we're using the right fasteners for each particular application. I'm using a nail gun. If you have a hammer and nails, you're going to want some probably 1-inch brads for this particular build. It will also be more than adequate when we go to put this on, because we're going to tack this in 2 places. We're going to nail through the back, and then we're also going to nail through the top into this bracket. It is going to have a glass candle sitting on top of it. We do want to make sure it holds. Between that and the glue, this should be more than adequate. So let's get this assembly started by doing some glue on the back of this piece. And just like a friendly tip, make sure you open your bottle of glue before you try to squeeze it out. It helps. Now, they make glue spreaders. This one's silicone. My personal recommendation, when you're spreading out your glue, you can let this dry overnight. Tomorrow when you come in the shop, you can peel your glue off. It's pretty easy cleanup. I'm not going to even bother with this today because the good Lord gave me a great glue spreader right here. We're just going to make sure we got a nice even coat on this. And yes, the rest of this, we are attempting to find a rag. Bear with me. I'm coming back. Here we go. Something else. You guys just starting out, buy some shop rags. You're going to be glad you did. All right. We're not even going to bother taking a measurement. We're just going to kind of line this up where we think it's going to look good. And we are going to pop some brads in here. Now, for those of you guys that do have a brad gun and you're not very experienced with it, let's talk about one quick thing. When you are nailing through this stock into this stock, never put your brad nailer parallel with this stock. Always put your brad nailer perpendicular to this stock. So when a brad nail blows out, which is where the brad will come out the side of the piece of material, could be for a variety of reasons, but you do get the occasional blowout on a brad. The brad is going to blow out left or right. If you are running parallel with your board that you are attaching to, your blowout is going to come through that material. If it's perpendicular, it's a much less likely scenario that the blowout is going to be seen. It's going to blow out left and right, which is going to go into this piece, if that made any sense. Hopefully it did. Just be careful when you're using your brad nailer, and never, ever, ever put your fingers anywhere close to the tip of this here on the work side or underneath. Never put your finger anywhere close to the top of this brad. I do not speak from experience, but I've seen plenty of guys who have had some fun with brad in their fingers. So, all right, next step, we're going to put a little bit of glue on this piece. Again, let's just spread it around, make sure we get good coverage on the bottom of this board. We're going to put this directly underneath here, and we're going to tack it in from the back. And we are going to shoot a couple brads through the top into that bracket. These will be the only two that you'll see when this thing is built. Now, as a beginner woodworker, I'm not sure how much more simple this can get. Look on Etsy and see what simple wall sconces are going for. Here's one right here. This is nothing more than a 2x4 that was done exactly like this. A long cut, a short cut, and he screwed it together and stained it. And look at this thing. I think he sold 28 of these sets. I mean, come on. Super simple projects for a beginner woodworker. Number one, a set of wall sconces. So there it is. This is absolutely a super, super simple build. Very rustic. I have a feeling my wife is going to put these on the patio with a couple of her special little LED candles that she loves to decorate with. So yeah, this is going to go outside. This is very rustic. You could even take your saw and cut a 45 on each corner, give this more of a little picket look to it, a little more shape and design. You could do the top and the bottom. So stain this, paint it, do what you like. You can also make this out of nicer material. You can use pine or poplar 1x4s and get a little bit nicer look. It's going to be a little more smooth. There's different ways you can do this particular bracket underneath. We could have cut something to go underneath a little more of an angle. Of course.
8 hours later.
Sorry about that. So we could have cut these pieces at an angle, put them under there this way to give this a little more dimension, little different design. Completely up to you. Play around with this. Again, this is free material, so whether it turns out the way you wanted it to or not, you got a little bit of glue and a few brads in this and your time, and again, make it yours. Don't be afraid. That's what woodworking is all about. So either of these two would work. We're going to get on to project number 2 now, so let's get started. For our next project, we're going to build something functional. We're going to make this bottle opener out of a cedar picket. I've got one on my patio. It gets plenty of use in the summer here in Houston. All you need for this is one cedar picket, some glue and brad nails, and a bottle opener from your local hobby store. So this next project we are going to make out of cedar fence pickets. These are the perfect material for these bottle openers. Extremely cheap. One cedar picket will get you, I believe, 3 of these bottle openers that you can sell. Cedar pickets are about $3.50, so for just over $1 plus your hardware, we are going to add a bottle opener, and we're going to build a little box here to catch the bottle caps. So for like $4.50, you can build these. We're going to need some cuts first. First cut we're going to do is 16 inches. This is the height of our bottle opener, so we're going to need a 16-inch cut. We're also going to need to build our box on the bottom. We're going to need a 4-inch piece of this, and then we're going to need 3 pieces at 2.5 inches. I'll show you how all this is going to go together in a second, but first let's head over to the miter saw and let's get this cut. 16.5 for this, 4 inches, and then 3 pieces at 2.5. Let's go do this. All right, we're back from the miter saw, and this is what you should have at this point. Your picket cut down to 16 inches, your 4-inch piece, and your 3 2.5-inch pieces. Now, let's see how this is all going to go together. Basically, we're going to build a box. We're going to put a 2.5-inch piece here, our 4-inch piece here, and we cut these other 2.5-inch pieces to finish out our sides. We are going to mark these at the top of this box, and we're going to head back over to the saw and cut this piece off of each board. Once we get done with that, we can come back, glue and brad this together. This will form our compartment, box, whatever you want to call it, at the bottom of this thing that's going to catch all your bottle caps as they fall in. Head back over to the miter saw. Let's get it done. So we're going to follow the same basic process we followed before. We're going to take our 2.5-inch long piece that has not been cut down, and we're going to put that on the bottom. And we are going to tack this in place with about 4 brads. Once this box comes together, it should be pretty stable, but let's get it tacked in place. Now our 2 side pieces. And for those of you guys new to woodworking, if you do get some glue squeeze out, that's not a bad thing at all. That lets you know you've got enough glue in there. But right now is when you want to try to get it off, not down the road after this thing dries completely. It's so much easier to get it while it's wet than it is to attempt to get it off once it has dried. And finally, our front piece is going to go on here. And that's our basic portion of this. Let me grab the bottle opener. We'll get that mounted and you can see what this thing looks like completely built. Give me just a second. All right, let's get this opener installed. Honestly, I'm just going to eyeball this thing. No need to pre-drill. Super short screws going into some super soft cedar. Just going to drive these in. And this thing is finished. Decorate this how you like. Hang it out on your porch. Mine gets some pretty heavy use here in the summer. It's hot as hell in Houston. So, and my shop is not air conditioned. So yeah, mine gets a lot of use in the summer, but real quick disclaimer, never while I'm in the shop with power tools, just so you know. But yeah, decorate this how you want it. Hang this up on your wall outside and enjoy it. And also real quick, I had a little video the other day that talked about a giveaway when we get to 1,000 subscribers. This is the exact drill. Well, not this exact drill. This one's mine. But this is the drill I will be giving away once we hit 1,000 subscribers. I will randomly pick someone out of the comment section. The more active you are in the comment section, the more likely you're going to catch my eye as I'm scrolling through all of my comments. 99 bucks at Home Depot. I'll get you one of these. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers and let's keep this thing going with project number 3. And finally, the most simple, most basic, easiest project of this particular video. We are using a scrap piece of a cedar picket to make a hanging plant shelf. This thing is nice looking outside, and because it's made of cedar, it's definitely going to weather well. All right, our final project is going to be by far the most simple one we do today. We are going to take another cedar picket scrap that I have laying around, and the reason we like to use cedar pickets for our outdoor projects here is 2 reasons. One, cost. Cedar pickets are by far the most affordable cedar stock you're going to be able to purchase. And number 2, cedar weathers really well outside. It tends to hold up much better than anything else that you put out there, unless you get into some exotics, and we're not going to talk about that on beginner woodworking. So all we're going to do for this particular build is we are going to cut one cut at 24 inches. Not even going to bother moving the camera. I'm just going to head over to the saw, make this cut. And real quick, just so you guys know, this is an absolutely awesome shop mask. This is made by RZ. This is the model M3. Not sponsored. I'm not promoting it. I'm just letting you know this thing is freaking awesome. And it's the main reason why I even bother wearing a mask in the shop. It's comfortable. And this filter pops out. They're replaceable. Get you one of these. You're going to need it if you start cutting a lot of lumber. Be right back. All right. All we're going to do now is we're going to drill 4 holes in the corner of this picket. I'm simply going to measure in 1 inch on either end and 1 inch from the end, and that's where we're going to drill our holes. We're going to drill 3/8 inch holes. That's what I need for this particular piece of rope or twine or sisal or whatever you guys call it in your part of the country. And I do have another piece of stock underneath this, mainly to protect my workbench, but it also does help with a little bit of blowout on the back side of these boards. Cedar pickets are not going to give you the cleanest of holes anyway, but anything you can do to help, do it. And as you can tell, the precision here is also not extremely important. We just need 4 holes to run this rope through. I've already cut these down to size. I'm going to have to trim this because I need a good clean end or it's not going to go through that hole. This is another thing, guys, when you're just starting out your shop, get yourself a good blade. You're going to use it for a ton more than just cutting rope. You're going to use it for a lot of stuff. As we get a little more advanced and I show you some other stuff, you'll use it to mark dovetail joinery. Gives you a whole lot more precise of a mark than a pen or a pencil. And you'll see that I use a pen a lot, not a pencil. I just prefer it. A lot of guys swear by mechanical pencils. I don't know, I've always used a pen and it works for me. All right, how much more simple of a project can we get than this? I think you could probably even get the kids or the grandkids out in the shop with you to make something like this for mom's birthday, Mother's Day, Christmas, or just because they care for mom. And who doesn't, right? So that's it. 3 super, super simple projects today. Now, as this series progresses, our builds are going to get a little more complex, a little more in depth. We are going to start building a little bit more things that require a little bit more precision. However, my plans for this channel are to stick with 3 tools: a drill, a saw, and a nail gun. Again, if you don't have those tools, a hammer and nail will substitute for the nail gun, and a hand saw and a miter box will substitute for the miter saw. So on this particular video today, the way the giveaway is going to work is if I can get 10 new subscribers off of this video, 25 comments down below, even if it's just someone saying good job or giving me a thumbs up emoji, 25 comments and 50 likes, I'm going to give away a shop tool valued around $30 to $40. It's going to be something beneficial for the beginner woodworker who might just be starting out on this journey. It's something that intermediate and advanced users will appreciate as well. So let's get this rolling. I've got a ton of things planned for you guys. Again, my saw is coming in the morning. I'll be doing a build and review on our saw over the weekend. Once my saw is up, I can start working on my router table cabinet. All of that content's coming your way. Appreciate your time today, guys, and we'll see you on YouTube.